Hi, it's Morgan and welcome to the Dove's Nest. In today's video, I'm talking all about how we're schooling at home. Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm taking a quick break from the FlyLady cleaning system to talk all about how we are schooling at home during this crazy worldwide pandemic. Now, we live in Southern California and we have been on a stay-at-home order since about March 15th of this year. I haven't left my house for 33 days. The last time I left my house was to pick up my kids from school on Friday, March 13th. The stay-at-home order was issued on the 15th. We kind of knew that was gonna happen. And we've just been here. We haven't left to buy groceries or anything. We've used grocery delivery services. We've just kind of been making the most of life at home. And I've actually gotten a few requests on my YouTube channel to kind of show what we're using at home, because we used to do Tot School at home and then I kind of stopped and sent my kids to preschool. And now my son is in Transitional Kindergarten at a public school in a really amazing school district. And we did that for a couple of reasons, mostly because my kids are very social. I know there's a whole stigma about homeschool kids not being social. This isn't that. My son needs to be around other people besides just his family in order to feel complete. He makes friends everywhere he goes, and he gets more out of school than just learning. If school were purely just about someone teaching him, all of the subjects he needs to learn to get to college, I would just teach him at home. And I'll tell you about that in a minute. But he gets so much more out of school. He gets love and care from teachers. He gets taught things in other ways that I don't know how to teach because I'm not a teacher. I'm not a professional. And so anyway, it's been a great transition, but we sort of knew that last Friday that I picked him up from school, that we were going to go on a statewide shutdown and not be able to leave. And so we actually started schooling almost right away. I just pulled out some of the curriculum that I already had, that we hadn't used, that I had planned to use if we had continued to do homeschool, and we've been using that. So today I wanted to kind of share a little bit about what we're doing and how we're doing it. As you'll notice, I am filming in a different part of my house. I'm actually in the kitchen, and that's because this is where all of our school stuff is. This is where we do school every day, and I apologize, I don't know how the sound is gonna be. We have wood floors and wood cabinets and tile backsplash, and so I know it's not ideal for acoustics. Hopefully it will work. I've got a few blankets thrown down on the ground to kind of suck up sound, but that's not important. So let's go ahead and talk about what is. As I mentioned, we started school at home the very next Monday following our statewide stay-at-home order, when we knew there wasn't going to be any school for a little while. So I knew we needed to do something, and so my goals with this were to keep it simple, to be thorough, and to have fun. I do want to mention, this is not as thorough as our TK curriculum was. I will link those videos above, as well as some of the activities that we used to do. This is not as thorough as that. As I mentioned, I wanted it to be simple. I am in my third trimester of my third pregnancy. I also have a house to clean, and I have a toddler at home. It's just a very different situation than we were in a year or two ago. So I started out with just two subjects, language arts and math. I figure if we do nothing else and we cover language arts and math, we should be fine. Slowly, we've added in more subjects, and that's just because we need something to fill our day. We're not going anywhere. Not even the parks are open. We're not going outside. We don't have family close by that we're visiting. And so we're just kind of stuck at home. The other thing is, it's been raining literally nonstop for the last month here in Southern California. So we can't even go outside. And so most of adding in these extra subjects and things were to sort of help fill the boredom that occurs with being on lockdown. Most days we spend about 60 to 90 minutes total doing school. We start right after breakfast and we finish before lunch, but a lot of times my kids ask to do more, or they want more activities in the afternoon. And so again, that's why we piled on some of these supplemental subjects and activities. Also, in the last week or so, my son's TK teacher, as well as my daughter's pre-K teacher, have been sending videos or setting up Zoom chats. And so we'll do those maybe once or twice a week per child. And that's all added into that time as well. So we're not spending more than 60 to 90 minutes a day doing school, and that's 5 days a week because it was raining and there was nothing else to do. The last 2 days the sun has been out, it's been really warm, and so for example today we haven't done any school. My kids are out swimming, and that's fine. Right now what we're looking at, now that the sun's out and the weather is nice, is probably 60 to 90 minutes, only 4 days a week. If we get bored and need something to do on a Saturday, we can pull out some lessons, but I'm not rushing anything. I'm not trying to hurry through anything. We're just taking it day by day and doing what we want to do. Okay, as I mentioned, we have been doing school in our kitchen. It's not fancy, it's not Instagram worthy, it's not pretty, but it works. I know I'm backlit and I'm probably a little bit hard to see right now, but I just wanted to really quickly walk you through everything you see here. It looks like much more than it is. So I keep my laptop right here. I usually sit right here at this seat at our kitchen table, and I have my laptop up. That way I can access my iTunes as well as my lesson plans, which I type out using Evernote every day. And I like Evernote because I can just go through and click the little check boxes once we complete something. Right here I have my son's upcoming math unit. This is unit 2, and so I have it with all of our laminating sheets, and I need to get it laminated so that it's ready to go. These book bins I purchased at the Target dollar spot a few years ago, and I haven't really had a use for them, but they are coming in so handy right now. These 3 here are my son's sort of core curriculum. This green one is sort of our supplemental activities, and then this pink one just sort of holds my daughter's schoolwork. If she decides she wants to do something with us that day, we just keep it in her little bin. And then on the end here, I have all of our school supplies, which I will show you in just a second. And then on that chair is like random stuff that keeps making its way upstairs for someone to work on, and I just haven't taken it back downstairs yet. So let's take a look at these things a little bit closer. All right, so we have these Pipsqueak markers, which we use all the time. This is a giant tower that actually pops up and has all kinds of colors, and my kids are loving it. We then have this little basket here that I got at the Dollar Tree, and it keeps all of our supplies. So we've got scissors, we have these awesome kid scissors that I love, and that's because that folds down. Rather than the kids having to use their hand muscles to push the scissors open backwards, they just kind of do a crab-like motion, and it just makes it really easy for little kids to do scissors. We also have some glue and glue sticks down there. We have our math dice that we use quite often. I got this, I don't even know, Lakeshore Learning maybe, and it came in a box of 4, maybe Zulily. Came in a box of 4, and it's just a dry erase dice, so you can put anything on it that you want. We're loving that. We have these My First Ticonderoga pencils for my son. We have some of our little twistable crayons, some watercolors. These are power magnets, and I got these to use when I purchased the Confessions of a Homeschooler preschool curriculum. I have some dry erase markers back there, a stapler down there, and a ruler just in case. And then I have some pens. These are kind of more for me. As I mentioned, I do have these book bins from the Target dollar spot. So as you can see right here, I have my son's sort of main curriculum in these first 3 bins. This is sort of a supplemental, and then this is my daughter's. And we are going to take a look at what's in each of those bins right now. First, I want to talk about the subjects that we are learning in our Dove Academy Schooling at Home. Those are language arts, math, nature study, music, art, and then supplemental activities. As I mentioned, it seems like a lot. A lot of those things we've added in because my kids are asking for more because they get bored. So let's start with looking at language arts. So for my son, as I mentioned, he's 5. He's in Transitional Kindergarten. We are using The Good and the Beautiful, and this is the Level K Primer course. I also have the supplement here. We are currently doing 1 lesson a day, and it seems perfect. We get through it in maybe 10 to 15 minutes tops. He's learning a lot, but he's retaining a lot too. So we are really loving this curriculum. We're about halfway through, and then we will do the primer. And then if we still have time before the school year's over, I'm gonna go ahead and order the kindergarten curriculum, and we will start on that. Something unexpected during our first week of schooling at home was that my son started reading, which was really fun. I just decided, let's just give it a try and see what happens. He's known all of his letter sounds, the short vowel sounds, for a while, so I figured let's maybe try some CVC words and just see what happens. And he nailed it. So I pulled out the reader. I didn't initially have it out. Pulled this out and he read through it in one sitting. And so I started to panic that we needed more books. And I remembered that I actually have all of these Bob books from Costco that I purchased years ago. I have every collection. And so we pulled out this collection and he loved it. I mean, they were a little bit challenging for him, but he just instantly became obsessed with reading. And so we haven't quite made it through all of them. I try to make him read one book a day, one book every weekday. And he's been doing it and he really is enjoying reading. So with these, I also went ahead and I purchased the beginner books A and then the beginner books B from The Good and the Beautiful. And he's actually read a couple of these and he really, really loves them. One of the things I have noticed with this curriculum, the Level K primer, is, for example, we started working on vowels, like maybe lesson 4 or 5. On long vowels in particular. So he has words in here that he has to read with a long vowel, for example, lake, L-A-K-E, and it's lake, but he hasn't learned yet that the E at the end of the word is silent. And so there's some funny mistakes like that that they haven't taught, so I'm having to teach them. Another one is the double E sound and how it makes a long E vowel sound. I had to just teach him that and hope that the information sticks. But he's doing really great. He's doing really well with reading. He loves reading. He reads his sister a book every night for bedtime. I just made a little word list from the first couple of lessons in our The Good and the Beautiful, made him this word list. So on top of reading his little book readers, he was reading this list as well. And then this is actually his word list for this week. So you can see he's like expanded quite a bit in just a few days. It's awesome to see how much he's enjoying reading and how he's progressing in that subject. Next up, let's talk about handwriting. I first noticed my son's handwriting when we were making his Valentine's cards for his class, and it was pretty bad. And I just figured he's in TK, maybe they haven't really started writing letters yet. And then we got all of his classmates' Valentines, and they were leaps and bounds ahead of him. So I knew it was just something we needed to work on. They were learning how to write letters properly at school. He just wasn't really taking it seriously. And so I didn't really know what to get. And so I started with this. This is actually a printable from the Moffat Girl. They have an early childhood education blog with tons and tons of printables for kids from preschool all the way through 5th grade. I think it really covers the whole gamut of elementary school. And so I got their handwriting practice, and I loved this because it comes with 3 levels for every letter, uppercase and lowercase. So for example, this is like level 1. My daughter got to this one. This is level 1, where it has sort of the bubble outline of the shape, and then it has the steps, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. And as they progress down each row, it kind of stops telling them which line to do next. They then have the level 2, which is more just tracing the letter. And then they have level 3, where they get to trace the first letter and then they're on their own after that. So what I did was we were just doing this level 2 instead of doing the handwriting in The Good and the Beautiful. So for example, the handwriting in The Good and the Beautiful was something like this, and it was either trace it with a pencil or just with your finger. But I mean, you were getting maybe 2 handwriting letters every day, and I just thought he needed more practice. And so we were doing the level 2 letters. You can see he did these in pencil. It's probably unfair of me, but I was really unfair about handwriting. I don't like my handwriting. I don't think it's neat, and I really want my kids to focus on having nice, neat handwriting. So if it were sloppy, I'd make him erase it and do it again. And this ended up just becoming such a struggle. As we progressed through The Good and the Beautiful curriculum, it would get to a point where he'd have 3 to 4 different letters a day that they wanted him to trace in the book. And so instead of doing that, I was pulling out the worksheets for him to do. So he was doing like 3 and 4 handwriting worksheets a day. He hated it. He would cry, I would yell. It was just such a source of contention, and it really was ruining the schooling at home experience for us. And then last week, his teacher finally set up a Zoom call with the whole class and sent some things for the kids to do. Now, the funny thing is, she sent home a week's worth of schoolwork that they would normally do in their class, and it was like half of what we were covering in one day. But the thing I did find interesting was that she sent home a letter page and a number page from the Handwriting Without Tears, my first school book. And I already had this at home. I purchased it years ago. And so I went and got it and just asked my son, hey, do you want to do like one of these pages? Now, the letter worksheet that she sent home was this one, the letter H. And so I made a copy, gave it to my son, and just said, this is what we're doing for handwriting today. He was thrilled. He was tickled because it was familiar. He was thrilled because it's not so overwhelming. It's fun, it shows him how to write the letters, it gives him some practice, not too much. But my son, who hates handwriting and would fight me every day, did this gladly without complaining. He even colored it, and my son has never been a colorer. I think I even mentioned it years ago in my homeschooling video. He doesn't enjoy coloring. If I ask him to color something, he'll maybe take a marker or a crayon and he'll just kind of draw one line through it. And he colored the whole house picture. So I'll insert a picture of that. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about, I will insert pictures of because I've been documenting every day on Facebook what we're doing just so that I have it. But it's been really fun to kind of see the things that we're doing. But he colored the whole house and everything. And I was so excited. So I was so glad that we had this book. And because he is learning, not just uppercase and lowercase letters, this book covers everything. It's got shapes, it does uppercase letters, and then towards the end it has numbers. And this was the other sheet that she sent home last week, was the number 6. And he, traced his number 6s, and then I figured he was going to be done. He said, no, Mom, I have to draw the 6 legs on each ladybug, and then he colored each ladybug. Like, it was amazing. So I went ahead and I also ordered my first book of lowercase letters. And so we're working on these in conjunction with the uppercase letters. And then I forgot at the time that this book had numbers in the back. And so I went ahead and I purchased the numbers books as well. And so you have one little book each for numbers 1 through 10. And there's just all different kinds of activities. There's some tracing activities, just very basic coloring activities. And so we've only been doing these for this week, and we're just doing one letter and one number a week, and it's been so great. Like, he's excited about handwriting now. So as much as I loved the Moffat Girls curriculum, it was just overwhelming to him, and he would just look at that worksheet and think, there are so many letters that I have to write. And then when we added 2 or 3 worksheets, it was too much. And so rather than fight, we're sticking with this, and it's awesome. All right, next, let's talk about math. Math has been one of the more fun subjects that we've been doing. My son actually looks forward to math every day. So again, from the Moffat Girls, I purchased this. It's a Teachers Pay Teachers resource, as I mentioned, and it's actually the kindergarten level math. When I purchased it a few years ago, they didn't really have a preschool math, so I bought this one. Now, their whole kindergarten math program has 10 units in it. So I have this one here, which is Unit 1, and it's mastering numbers 1 through 10. Now, I love the Moffat Girls because they really emphasize subitizing. Now, I know I showed this in one of my videos years ago, but subitizing is learning to look at different ways of representing a number to see that number. So you don't just see the number 5, but it's learning to see this and know that this is 5, or 5 objects. 5 on a 10 frame, 5 tallies, and also the number word. And so this we used when we did Tot School, we used these little things and kind of made games out of them. And they do the same in their curriculum here. Now, I didn't purchase the whole kindergarten math curriculum. I only purchased a select few units. So I have numbers 1 through 10 here. We're almost finished. I think we have 3 between 3 and 5 more lessons. And then we will be moving on to Unit 2, which I showed at the beginning of the video. It's over on the table. I need to laminate it. Once we finish with Unit 1, we are going to be moving on to Unit 2, which is mastering numbers 11 through 20. And then after that, if we continue to keep going, which we probably will through summer, just to have some fun educational activities to do, I have also purchased Unit 8, which deals with data and measurement and sort of using different things to measure and weigh. And then Unit 9, which is geometry shapes. So we'll be learning things like pegboards and working with popsicle stick shapes, Play-Doh shapes, and then also those little tiles. I can't think of what they're called now, but the different shapes tiles. So we'll be doing that probably throughout the summer, and I figure the rest of what they offer in their kindergarten math unit, he will probably just learn in kindergarten. For example, Unit 3 is numbers 20 through 100, and I figure he can learn that stuff next year once school starts up again. But what I love about this curriculum is it comes with your lesson plans. There's a scope and sequence. So for example, here is, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see because it's in the sheet protector. So it's a really quick lesson plan. You have kind of a review activity. So in this case, it's count to 5 on your hand. You have sort of something to say to catch their attention. You have the mini lesson, and then you have your practice. And the practice includes math centers and the worksheets. So in this binder, I have my lesson plans, and then I have all of his worksheets, and you can see he's got some handwriting worksheets that he's done here. Let me find some more. Like I said, we did these for about 2 weeks. He has like a cutting and pasting, subitizing worksheet here. There were some coloring, color the number of gumballs that go in the machine. More cutting and pasting, count the pancakes, and then fill in the spots of how many pancakes there are. So he's done those worksheets. We only did those for about 2 weeks, and then last week and this week we've completely stopped the worksheets again because the handwriting portion was overwhelming. But what we are still using is that curriculum comes with, maybe I'm going to take these out, with a bunch of centers. So I have all of our math centers here in these Ziploc bags. There is a bag for every center. So for example, this one is ice cream scoops. So he has like a cone on the bottom, and then he has to do all of the subitizing to match the ice cream to the cone. These ones are just number puzzles for subitizing. Bubblegum math, he draws a card, a number card, back here, puts it on the bubblegum machine, and then we use our power magnets or Play-Doh or Legos to put that many gumballs in the machine. As I mentioned, we are almost finished, so some of the later centers get a little bit more complex. So this one is one less, one more. So you have these watermelon cards that you draw. You put the card of how many watermelon seeds there are, and then with an expo marker, you write what's one less and what's one more. And then we also do the same with the popcorn. So we use my big dry erase dice that I showed you. It comes with dice that you can actually, cut and print. There's tons of dice, but I just figured rather than do all that extra work, we just use the dry erase dice. And you roll a number, and then this one, for example, is one more. So he would put either a power magnet or a Play-Doh or a manipulative of some kind on the popcorn. We actually even the other day used real popcorn. That was fun. There's also one in here that's one less. And there's quite a few boards. There's like 1 through 5, 6 through 10. You can see there's some other really cute dice in here. So that's what we're doing for math, and we are loving it. They did just come out with a preschool curriculum if you have a preschooler. Years ago when we were doing Tot School and I was using the Confessions of a Homeschooler preschool curriculum, I was wishing that there was a little bit more oomph in terms of the math portions of that curriculum. So I'm actually thinking about purchasing that preschool curriculum, probably just the centers only. She's not ready for worksheets, but the centers for sure for my daughter, just to give her something to do while we're doing school. Now that the sun is finally out and the rain has stopped, I decided to add in a nature unit to help us get outside more. We can't really go anywhere, but we do have a pretty great backyard. We can go on walks around our neighborhood. And so I found this curriculum called Exploring Nature with Children. It is a Charlotte Mason inspired year-long curriculum. There are 52 weeks worth of lessons. Every week has sort of a different topic. We started this curriculum the first week of April, and it was with trees. And so we looked at different types of trees in our yard, noticed the different barks, the different types of leaves. We looked at artwork. We listened to beautiful music about trees, usually classical style music. We read a bunch of books just from our library that we have downstairs because we can't go anywhere to get more books. But we read The Giving Tree and A Tale of Three Trees. Those are both such classic, such good books. I cried at both of them. The second week we did it, we studied the plant life cycle, and so we planted our vegetable garden down in our backyard, and then my kids actually have beans that are growing right now. We did where you put them in the Ziploc bag with the cotton balls and water, and then you can hang them so that you can actually watch the bean seeds sprout, and so I'll be sure to enter a clip of that right here for you. This week we're actually studying wildflowers, and so we've been looking at beautiful artwork of wildflowers. We've been reading books. We did some nature collages. This one was just sort of a general collage that we did where we collected wildflowers and their leaves. And then yesterday we actually did watercolors. We went around our neighborhood and found some wildflowers, and then my kids painted the wildflowers. And my son found this really cool flower. It was like yellow in the middle, and then on the petals it turned orange and then ended up red. And so that's sort of what he got from that. This has been a really fun study. Like I said, it's very Charlotte Mason, and so there are lots of book reading suggestions as well as like a nature guide. I don't have a nature guide. We kind of just go out in our yard and look for stuff. And then all of the books, if I don't have anything in our library downstairs, or if I can't find it, because, side note, since our house flooded, I haven't done the playroom yet. I did my whole declutter series, which I will link up here, and the playroom was sort of the last 3 videos of that 2-week series, and I just haven't done it yet because every time I go in that room, I get anxiety, and I will show you why by entering a clip of what that playroom looks like right here. And so hopefully in the next week or 2, I will get to cleaning that room, and then our bookshelf will be all nice and organized and I can find what I need. But for now, what we've been doing is if there's a book in here that I'd like to read my kids that we don't have, I just go to YouTube, I type the title of the book followed by read aloud, and chances are it's on YouTube. And so we've been reading a lot of books that way. So this nature study has been really fun for us. Next thing we are doing, we've just been doing so far for the last, this is our 3rd week of our 4 or 5 weeks that we've been schooling already. I don't even know how many days we've been in lockdown, but this is our 3rd week and we are doing daily devotionals. Now the curriculum we are using for that is this Come Follow Me curriculum. This is a curriculum that was put out by our church. It's free online. I think this book cost $2. I bought the actual hard copy of the book. I'm not actually even using the book. It's really good and has, activity and idea suggestions, but I am using weekly activity kits from the Red-Headed Hostess, and I'll leave a link to her website below. And she puts together these great lessons. So for example, one of the things that we did this week was we just sort of talked about what is the New Testament? Like, what is this book and what's inside? And so I have these bookmarks that she has, and there's little scriptures on them. There's a little snippet of like what's in the picture, but we did a scavenger hunt for these bookmarks and then put them in order and sort of just talked about, the New Testament is about Jesus and his life and his teachings. As I said, I'm documenting everything that we're doing every day on Facebook, so I have a lot of footage and pictures of stuff. But we are just sort of starting to work our way through the New Testament. This morning we actually read in Matthew 19 about the rich young ruler, and so we sort of talked about him and put our little picture in our scriptures, and that'll be a really fun keepsake to have when we're sort of done with the whole New Testament and see how it's filled up. Last week we did a whole study about Easter, and we started on Palm Sunday and then went through Easter Sunday. We used a free curriculum download from the Small Seed blog, and it was really cool. It came with daily free lesson plans and activity ideas, and then a poster with beautiful pieces of artwork from Carl Bloch that depicted the Savior's last week here on earth. And after we finished a lesson, we would take one of those art pieces and put it on the poster, and then at the end of the week we had like this beautiful review of Easter week, and it was really fun to see how much my kids actually learned in just 1 week. So that was something that we did. But for the most part, we are using activities and supplements from the Red-Headed Hostess. The last subject that we do every day is music. A few years ago, I created a video, and it's a review of the Sound Beginnings class my son had just finished. It was the Gold Stars class. We have stuck with this program, and now my son has done Gold Stars, Brown Bears, and Pink Piggies for these Sound Beginnings. And my daughter has done White Horses and Silver Buttons. She'll be a black spider in the fall, and then we'll probably start over with the Gold Stars with her. My son has since graduated to the actual Let's Play Music level, and he has completed the Red Balloons, and he's currently a Blue Bug. Now, we love these classes. As I mentioned in my review video of Gold Stars, let me see what other books do we have. Oh, I have my daughter's currently in Silver Buttons. Her White Horses was last semester. This is like an entire preschool curriculum in music. It's in one class. If you haven't seen that video or you don't know anything about this course, I highly recommend checking it out. I will link it up here, and let me know if you want me to do a video of sort of the more advanced level. This is what my son is in right now. They're focusing more on reading music, and then he actually has, we call them bells, but it's this xylophone, these rainbow xylophones that they practice on. And so they're reading music and learning to play the notes with the bells. We actually just got a piano. We inherited a piano from my husband's boss a few weeks ago, and my son and daughter both are already starting to play the piano just based on these concepts. And they're 3 and 5, and it's pretty amazing. So every day we try to do something with the music program. For example, the first week that we were in our stay-at-home order, my son's music teacher sent this spring break bingo home, and it was different activities for them to do. Some of the activities he had to do for this bingo were to compose his music, and we were sent blank printables, and he had to use his bells and look at the music, as well as do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. So he uses those notes. The song from The Sound of Music is like a main one. We listen to it every day. With our solfege hand signals, we're still doing those, as I mentioned in that Gold Star music review. But he had to use his bells and his knowledge of those notes to color in each of these songs. And then he has to record him playing these songs on his bells and send it to his teacher every week. I also made little solfege flashcards in their proper color with their hand sign and the name, and I sort of made a little miniature version of these on vinyl that I put on our piano keys, and that's what our kids are looking at to match the bell sound with the piano keys. So my son can, for example, he can just look at this and then he can go play his song on the piano. It's the coolest program, you guys. If you want me to do a review, I'll totally do a review on that. But so we are doing something for music every single day. Usually includes doing a lesson or a song with his bells, practicing baby steps, skips, or leaps is sort of how they distinguish, you know, how to get from one note to the next. They have these really cute beat bug cards. For example, this is bug. And so he gets one clap because he's a quarter note, butterfly, butterfly. So we usually will practice these every day. He listens to all of his different songs every day. We're talking a lot in both of these courses about chords, for example, major and minor chords, listening to songs and determining, is it a major scale, is it a minor scale? So we do a little something for my kids every day, even if it's just listening to the songs on their CDs. Now I love it because a lot of them are really fun nursery rhymes that kids love and we would just be listening to while they're doing some of their schoolwork. There's a lot of classical pieces. Some of the classical pieces we're even listening to as we're observing artwork for our nature study. So we're sort of tying in music everywhere. We also use a lot of the Let's Play Music songs to just sort of talk about like alphabets. So they have alphabet letter sounds, words they start with, and then in this course you continue to Z. One of the other things that we do every single day before we start with our Good and the Beautiful lesson is we sing the ABC and sound songs. It's just the alphabet song and then you sing it again, but instead of saying the letter name, you say the letter sound. That one's super awesome. Another one that we do from here is we will do the days of the week. We look at this poster, but we actually use the days of the week song from The Good and the Beautiful. So that one's really fun. We've done seasons. There's a shape song in here that has to do with a bunch of the different shapes. Two of the math songs that we do are, we do 1, 2, buckle my shoe. And then we do this one, the 1 + 1 is 2, and it's like to the tune of the Nutcracker. It goes really fast, but it's all of these little math facts. And then I don't know where the book is right now, but in our Pink Piggies book, there's a song that deals with money and sort of how much each money is. You know, a penny is 1 cent, a nickel is 5 cents, and we talk about that. And so the Let's Play Music curriculum has been invaluable. As I mentioned, a single semester of a Let's Play Music class could be a full preschool curriculum on its own, but it's working so well as a supplement to what we're already doing. So that's essentially the core of what we're doing for our homeschool. Those are the things that we try to do every day that we do school, whether it's 4 days a week or 5 days a week. And then these next couple of things I'm going to mention are supplements, things that we just do in the afternoons when we're bored, things that we like to add in if we just need something extra to do. We don't do most of them except for once a week. So the first one is art. Now, while I am a total creative person, I'm not an artsy person. And so one of the things that has really been helping us in our homeschool is Art Hub for Kids here on YouTube. And maybe twice a week, my kids will ask to do it. And it's just drawing tutorials. And so we're having so much fun learning to draw different things. When we first started schooling at home, I didn't really even have art supplies. I had my pipsqueak markers and that was about it. So it was really nice that the Easter Bunny brought us some watercolors and some other things to do because we've expanded our horizons a little bit. So between the Art Hub for Kids and then just sort of free drawing or painting with our nature study, we've been incorporating a little bit more art projects. Something fun that we did for Easter was we made and decorated Easter eggs and hung them in our window for a neighborhood Easter egg hunt. Now, what we were supposed to do was we used washi tape and then you were supposed to color where the tape wasn't and then peel the tape off and you had an egg. But this was my daughter. She just enjoyed, you know, the tape. This was mine. I can't find my son's right now. But we're loving just adding in something fun and crafty to do. When we first started schooling at home a few weeks ago, my kids hated the art, especially the Art Hub for Kids. They were so discouraged thinking that their art wasn't good because it didn't look just like the teachers, or I can't do it, I don't know how to do it. And in just a few weeks, they have just blossomed and they love art. They ask to do it outside every day. They want to color or paint. You know, one of the things I keep trying to tell them is all art is beautiful and everybody is different. So everybody creates different art, but it's all still beautiful in its own way. And I've said it probably every day for 4 weeks. And I just noticed yesterday it's starting to pay off. We were outside painting our wildflowers and they were just encouraging each other and talking about, you know, your picture is so beautiful. You're doing such a great job. And my daughter's just scribbling watercolors on paper. She doesn't know how to draw flowers. And, you know, and my son was just like, oh my gosh, it's just such a beautiful picture. You're so good. And then the other thing is they're proud of what they're putting out. So my son's watercolor flowers that he did, he was so proud of those pictures. And so I love that. I love that it's just sort of bringing out their little creative juices. We're actually going to go do some more artwork outside in just a few minutes when I finish this video. So we're incorporating art when they want to. It's usually in the afternoons. And again, I don't have a curriculum. It's kind of whatever we feel like doing. One of the supplemental subjects I've also incorporated is the Safety Kids. This is a little personal safety book. I did a whole video about the Bright Kids library, and I will be sure to link that up above here. But this is the Safety Kids Part 1. It's personal safety. It mostly is about stranger danger and learning your phone number. Now, as I mentioned in that video that I did about the whole Bright Kids library, there's a song in here that teaches you your phone number or your parents' phone numbers. I remember my phone number from when I was 3 years old and lived in Salt Lake City. And we moved out of Salt Lake City when I was 3 years old, and I never lived back there again. But I still remember my phone number because of the song from the Safety Kids. So we're really, you know, maybe once a week or something, if we're bored in the afternoon, we will pull this out. It's sort of just like an audiobook. This whole library used to have hard copies of their books, and they don't anymore. Everything's PDF download and MP3. But we will just sort of go through here don't talk to strangers, know your telephone number. This talks about sort of body safety and, like good touch, bad touch kind of a thing, and what to do if you're in one of those scary situations. So we've been adding that. To go along with it, I did purchase the Good and the Beautiful, the safety unit. I don't know that we will get to it or do really anything from it. We might. Just kind of have to see how bored we get and how much time we have, how long this drags out. As of right now, we are not going back to school through the remainder of the year. So we kind of have from now through the summer to keep busy with activities. So we may do some things in here. There's other subjects in here that aren't covered in my Safety Kids book, things like fire safety, electricity, earthquakes. We've had so many earthquakes like since being on stay-at-home order, like what is happening right now, right? So we may do some of this kitchen and cooking safety and gun safety. My kids have started really helping out in the kitchen. One of their favorite things to do is to bake pizza. We've been making homemade pizza every Friday night. And so we may try to incorporate this. It just depends, like I said, on how much they want to do. I'm kind of going at their pace right now. I'm pretty much maxed out with what we cover every day, but if they want something extra to do, we might pull some lessons from this. Something else we are trying to do, again, from the Bright Kids library, I sort of printed, 4 books in one. These are the character books from the Bright Kids library. So every book sort of has a character trait that we want to work on. We have been listening to obedience because my kids have a serious listen and obey problem. So I just printed these out, and again, I put them in the dividers. There's 4 books in each of these binders. There's a total of 12 characters, and so they're pretty long. I mean, like this obedience book, we listen to maybe 1 song a day. When we do it probably twice a week, and we just listen to 1 song because my kids just can't sit through it. They get really, really bored really fast. And so I remember loving these when I was little, but we didn't have screens or iPads or like kid shows. And so that's probably a big difference. But we do try to listen to 1 song maybe once or twice a week. So most of this curriculum, aside from the devotional, has been dedicated to my son, who's 5. My daughter, who's 3, I thought about doing like a full-on tot school with her, and I just decided like, no. Let's focus on getting my son what he needs, and then we can focus on her maybe next year. Next year she starts actual preschool, but maybe we can supplement some of that. But my daughter does not like to be left out. She wants to do school when we're doing school. She just turned 3 a few months ago. And so what we are doing with her is we are doing the Confessions of a Homeschooler preschool curriculum. So I have, for example, A here, but we're not even doing all of the activities. We're doing some of the activities. A lot of what she knows is matching. So visual discrimination, she can do things where she matches uppercase and lowercase, but anything, the size sort she likes, the puzzles, anything that really has to do with letters and numbers, she's just not there yet because we don't know letters and numbers. And I say we, she doesn't really know letters and number yet. Here's the letter B she was working on this week. B is for butterfly, so she'll do power magnets or Play-Doh. She loves with pattern blocks. She's been doing some of the pattern blocks. So she can do some of the activities from the Confessions of a Homeschooler, but not all of them. I also did really think about purchasing that preschool curriculum from the Moffat girls, just the math centers. I think she would really like that. She can count to 10. I don't really think she understands what it means, so she's probably ready for something like that. Some other things that she does, I made some of these, they're in pretty rough shape. I made some file folder games a couple of years ago, so she will practice, learning her name. We do some letter magnets, and then she can sort letters that are in her name, letters that are not in her name. She practices finger tracing, and then these just Velcro on and off, and she can match the letters. Oops, I dropped one. So she does little things like that. I have other little file folder activities. This one's A is for alligator, so they build an alligator. I have a chocolate chip cookies one. We have one for every letter of the alphabet, just little file folder games, and she really enjoys doing those. The other thing that my daughter does every day while we're doing school is I found a YouTube channel on here called Monica Sutton, and she is a preschool teacher who's making daily circle time YouTube videos while she can't teach her actual class. And so I will be sure to link her in the description box. She's great, and actually both of my kids watch her. So we'll start doing school, and then if my son hears my daughter watching the circle time in the other room, he will immediately go up and listen to circle time. So that's been really fun. And then like 3 or 4 times a week, she's watching the Leapfrog Letter Factory, and is it Math Ahoy? Numbers Ahoy? So she's sort of learning more about her numbers and math that way, just on TV. Because you guys, I'm not opposed to screen time during lockdown. My kids are actually watching scripture videos. There's a website called The Living Scriptures, and they have tons of Christian-based, devotional videos. They have animated scripture stories, and so we watch like a scripture story with our devotional all the time. We watched one every day for Easter. It was really great. So they'll watch those. They'll watch some educational YouTube videos. We're doing Go Noodles. Like, TV is a total amazing supplement right now. Another thing that we are doing actually is workbooks. Usually we save workbooks for church so my kids can do something quietly, but they're actually really loving them. So for my daughter, I like these Spectrum early years. We have letters and numbers. The ones that she's been really enjoying are these colors and shapes, and she mostly just kind of uses them for coloring books. She'll talk about, like what's in the picture, what color is it, kind of a thing. But the one that she really loves is this tracing one. And so she's been trying to do the tracing one. Along with this, I bought this doodles and pre-writing workbook from The Good and the Beautiful for my son, kind of for his handwriting, because I thought maybe, when he was really struggling with our handwriting worksheets, like maybe they were just too advanced. Turns out they weren't. He just was overwhelmed by the quantity. But so my son is not interested in this, but my daughter loves it. So she will go through and I was making copies so that she could do them more than once, but she will go through and do these tracing workbooks. And then sort of along those same lines, my son loves mazes. And so the Easter Bunny just brought him this maze book. And so he's kind of been working his way through it. He loves mazes. So that is everything that we are doing in our school at home. It does seem like a lot, but as I mentioned, we only spend between an hour and an hour and a half total every day. And that's whether we do everything all at once or sort of spread little activities throughout the day. It only takes about an hour to an hour and a half. I try to start as soon as I get breakfast cleaned up in the morning, and I try to finish before lunch. And then if we do a couple little fun things in the afternoon, great. If not, I'm not worried about it. If your school is not really sending you things to do with your kids, if they don't have to be on the computer all day, every day, these are some things that you can do. Just little printable activities, free activities on Pinterest. If you want a more structured curriculum, The Good and the Beautiful, because they're all still working, they're shipping. I have purchased materials since our state has been on the stay-at-home order and the non-essential business and whatever, and they were still working at that time, and I got everything in like 3 to 4 days. So if you're looking for something a little bit more structured, I highly recommend going that route. But again, just try to have fun. Like, learning should be fun. Your kids are just as traumatized about this situation as we are. I realized that the other day. I had a moment with my daughter, and she's just like devastated. She's 3 and she doesn't know how to express that emotion, but she was just a pill and having a hard time. And I just asked her, do you miss your school and you miss your friends? And she just burst into tears and sobbed, yes, yes. I just want to encourage you all, do what you can. Like, keep up the good work. This is new territory for all of us. None of us know what we're doing. If you can't do anything else, read out loud with your kids or have your kids read. I promise it'll work miracles. We just finished reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with my kids, and now we've started Harry Potter, and they're totally not into it, but that's okay. We're gonna keep going because reading out loud is important. But do what you can. Just do what you can. And I hope if your schools are sending work and your kids are on the computers and iPads all day, that you're like powering through. I'm here to send you encouragement. You can do this. I'm encouraging you. As always, thank you so much for watching my videos, and thank you for requesting this video. It was really fun to make. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to see more cleaning and homemaking videos, be sure to hit that subscribe button. As always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.